For the last little piece here, we're going to talk about this idea of sort of plotting out what the random walk looks like. So there's a couple different ways that we can look at the random walk, and the first one that we're going to look at is maybe over time. So random walk over time. I know that's probably not spelled, or you can't hardly see that, but over time. So for the bottom down here, you want to, whatever you start off with 0, maybe that was 100, and then kind of have it do its thing and just tell me what happened from 0 to however many steps that you took, right? So just over time, what position was or location was the random walk at? The next one, so we're gonna put in multiple graphs in this one sort of chart, and then down here I'm gonna put maybe a histogram of all of them, right? So if this was maybe 100, maybe you spent half the time over here and half the time over here. I don't know. Whatever happened during that random walk, sort of throw that up there as a histogram. And then the last sort of visual that I want to see is the amount of time that you spent. So this will be a 0 and a 1. The amount of time you spent below the starting location, and then the amount of time that you spent above, right? Just to give you kind of an idea of where the simulation or where the random walk sort of was sitting at for most of the time. And I think that'll be it. That'll be our plot path, and we'll kind of see what happens to each one of these. So let's go ahead and jump in the code here. Let me see if I can pull it up. All right, there it is. And so now what we want to do is define plot underscore path. Let's see, path. And I don't think we need anything else except for all the data that's inside self. I think that's all we need in order to make this thing work. But we'll figure out if we need to pass something in. So plot. I'm gonna make this thing different. I use a different style. I know we've talked about this maybe a little bit, but I don't think I've ever actually used it. But I want to use ggplot. I like the way the ggplot looks. And then I'm gonna start off with a figure. So plt dot figure, and I'm going to make this thing a particular figure size equals to it's either 8 by 6 or 6 by 8. I remember 8 and 6 when I did this before. And the last thing that I'm going to do before we start maybe getting these subplots is I'm going to make a little bit of space. So subplots underscore adjust. And I'm going to say W space is equal to 0.4 and in horizontal space is 0.6. All right, so all we've done so far is just create this figure, and we've told it that, hey, anytime you have a subplot, in between those subplots, I want a little bit of space. So that's all we've done so far. And then I'm going to create this AX0. I'm going to say it's plt.subplots. Or subplot to grid, I should say. Subplot to grid. And you got to kind of map this thing out. So 0, 1, 2. So this is a 3 by 3 space. So I'm going to say a 3 by 3 space. And I'm going to start this one up in the top left-hand corner. So this will be the big one, if you will. So I'm going to start this one up here, and I'm going to make this a 3 by 3 grid. So this is 1, 2, and this might be 1, 2, and this is the third part down here. So I'm going to start this guy up here, and I want him to go, I want it to have 1, 2 by 2, right? So maybe it's a 2 by 2 column span. So I'm going to span 2 columns and span 2 rows. So I'm going to start in the 0, 0 spot, and I'm going to say column span equals 2 and row span equals 2 as well. Okay, so that's going to be where I'm going to put the random walk over time. And then I'm going to create the second axis, and I'm going to call it plt dot, same business here. Control C, Control V, and then I want it to start. Let's see, this one's going to be my histogram. So I needed to start, let me just kind of pull it up here. So 0, 1, 2. So I needed to start 2, comma, and then column is going to be 0. So 2, 0 is where I want it to start. So 2, comma, 0. And then I want it to span what, columns or rows? I think it's columns. Yeah, it's going to span 2 columns. So column span equals 2. And row span, you can tell it equals 1, but it'll just know to do that. And then finally, AX2 is going to be my amount of time above or below the starting point. So that's going to be, again, dot V. Yeah, there we go, comma. And we want it to start. So that's the 0, the 1, the second column. So that's the 0th row and the second column. So the 0th row and the second column. And we want the row to span by how much? Let's think about this for a second. Let me make sure. So I want it to start from here and go 1, 2, and 3. So I want it to go all 3. So row span equals 3. I want it to go all the way down to the bottom. All right, and AX0. So now I'm gonna say, all right, in axes 0, let's go ahead and plot. So range self dot time plus 1. That's because we needed to go to time, or because so range goes to n minus 1. So this, I don't want it to stop at time. I want it to stop at, I'm sorry, time minus 1. I want to stop at time. So I guess I got to put the plus 1 on there. And so that's going to be our x, and our y is just going to be self.loc. And then ax1.hist. Oh, yeah, let's put a title in there. So dot, I believe it's set title. Let me look at my note here on this one. Yes, it's called set title. Set title. Instead of title, like that's how it would be if it was PLT dot. Remember, this is the object-oriented version of Matplotlib, and it has a different, like if I want to give me the axes and I'll tell you how to set the title or put a title on there, it would have been PLT.title, but because I'm doing the object-oriented version, is set underscore title. So set title, and we're going to call this random walk over time, something like that. And then AX1 dot, I'm going to do a histogram here, and that's just going to be self dot location, and I'm going to give it a weird color, equals cadet blue. Must be the Air Force Academy. Okay, so we got that going for us. And then AX1 dot set title. We're going to call this histogram of locations. Histogram of locations. All right, and then AX2 dot, I'm going to give it a bar. So I'm going to give it a bar at 0. At 0, that's going to be the one we're below. So I'm going to call that negative self dot. Let me make sure I get this one right. So when I'm doing a step, I'm changing GTO and LTO by the sum. So LTO would be the negative one. So LTO, and color, we want it to be red, but I don't want it to be like a flashy red, so I'm going to give it a salmon. That's how you spell it. And then we want the width to equal 0.5. Instead of 0.75 is the standard. So in other words, I'm just shrinking the bar just a little bit. And then AX2.bar, so at the 1 spot, I want it to be self.GTO greater than. And then I want that color to be like a green color, maybe a sea green. I think is the color that I used. And then again, its width is also going to be 0.5. And then we got to give it a title, ax2.set underscore title. And then, I don't know, time above / below. So string of self. Sure that is correct. Yes, okay. All right, let's see what happens. I don't know. And then, oh, we got to do PLT show, so I don't get to some funky thing coming back. Shift enter. All right, redo that. Instead of doing that, let's do r dot, what is it called? Run 0. So r dot run underscore 0. Oh, I got to give it a positive negative. That's right. So I got to tell it 5 and negative 5. Go. So 212 to. So 212 time periods. And I forgot what this 100 stands for. Oh, the maximum. So this sucker just went straight to, it looks like it just went right underneath 100. But the question is, I don't know, what does that look like? So right now, I guess I could print R and we could kind of look and see what it does. But I want the visual of it. So r.plot underscore path. Hopefully this works. All right. So you can see that, so you saw the maximum was 100. So you can kind of see where it occurred at. And you can hopefully see also why I like ggplot. It gives us these neat little sort of spots, and then the grid on it and the color. I don't know if I think it, to me, it makes it feel like nice. And the red here is not really, bright in your face kind of red. And I like this salmon and this cadet blue too. Okay, and you can see that it starts at 0, 0 and it goes spans 2, this one spans 3, this one starts down here at the last row of my, so you can see where all these 3, 3 and the start and how many it spans sort of affects what that graph looks like. I don't know, let's do another one. Shift enter. Ooh, it's a long one. Shift enter. And you can see, right, it took a long time. So this particular trip into the casino allowed you to get really high, and then you kind of stayed there for a while, and it took us a long time to lose all our money. And you can see that it stayed in the green many times, and then I guess it kind of fell out, right? So it went really quickly. I guess it's not really quickly. Anyway, all right. I think that's all I got for this lesson. I hope you guys got something out of it, and I will see you next time.